Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Inglês no Rádio. Another episode just with me, unfortunately. Next week, Alexia will be back, and everyone, including myself, will be much happier. But for today, we are going to continue talking about the state of education and English teaching in Brazil, and specifically focus on some certain points from this article that we have been talking about. So I believe 2 days ago, we were going to talk about the point in the article, 6 reasons why Brazilians do not speak English properly, where the author says that the Brazilian mindset for learning English is out of date. But at the end of the day, I just kind of talked about the difference between learning and consuming information because I think it's a very important concept. It's important to understand the educational system. In general, the Brazilian system for teaching English gives you a lot of information about grammar, vocabulary, etc., but it really doesn't help you learn that much. So instead of talking about the complaints, let's think about what is a better solution. So in the article, the author says, speaking should be the priority in learning any language. Grammar should be learned almost by accident. Many teachers question this statement. It is more important to be understood than speaking in a grammatically correct tongue. It is also important to understand when spoken in this tongue, so listening exercises are equally as important. In the current mindset of teaching English in Brazil, these goals will be difficult to reach. Teaching English in Brazil does not favor the student, but it does favor the language center. So, these are some pretty harsh words. These are definitely fighting words, and I have a lot to say about them. First of all, I completely agree that at least 80%, that's an approximation, but let's say more or less 80% of the focus in language schools should be on speaking and listening. On one hand, I think that is the goal for most students to really speak English, so we should focus on that. Every now and then, I have a student that really needs to improve a very specific area of their English, like writing for an exam, or a student that wants to improve their reading to read academic text or something like that. But I would say 98% of my students want to just speak English, understand English speakers, travel the world, meet people, make friends, have better opportunities, etc., etc. So I think an easy way to fix that problem is to focus almost exclusively on speaking and listening, especially in the beginning of the process. So the author also said that teaching English in Brazil does not favor the student, but it does favor the language center. And I hate to do this. I really hate to talk a lot of shit about big corporations and sound like a communist trying to fight the evil corporation because that's really not my thing. It's not my place, but I have to admit, I really have to admit that I agree with this. I think one of the big reasons that language schools do not focus on speaking and listening, but they do focus a lot on grammar and reading and writing, is because it's a lot easier. It's easier to teach, it's easier to learn, it's easier to measure. For example, if you have an exam on the simple past tense, I could easily teach you some rules and give you some examples. In like 1 hour, you could probably get a good score on your exam. So, this is really good for the language school because you do not need to be extremely qualified. You don't need to have patient, dynamic teachers to teach grammar and vocabulary. And it's very good for the language school because they can say, look, 90% of our students have an advanced level of English after only 6 months, Selah, or something crazy like that. But what they're really saying is a lot of our students can pass English exams with a pretty good score. So, just to summarize here, the goal for most people is to learn how to really speak English and understand native speakers. Unfortunately, the goal for most language centers is to make money, and to help students pass exams. So probably they are not helping you with your personal goal. So, in the next episode, I will talk a little bit more about traditional English schools in Brazil. And then I will stop being negative because I hate to be negative. I want to be positive and optimistic. And we'll start talking about solutions, what I think the future of English in Brazil will look like. And just think about better ways to study and learn English and learn all sorts of different things. But until then, I really encourage you to think about, what is your goal for learning English? Why are you doing this? Why are you investing time and money into this process? And then think about, what are the things you are doing to truly achieve this goal? Are they helping, or are they just kind of going through the motions and going through the process? And I promise this little thought experiment will really help you clarify your goals and what you need to change to start speaking English more fluently. So that's it for today, dudes and dudettes. I will see you tomorrow.